Talk Radio.
This thing right here is for my peoples in the streets.
Yes, today.
Blog Talk
All
Radio.
right, welcome to another edition of RSG One Mic. We're in the building. Welcome to 2021 version. We're feeling good here in the new year. You know, we all had to slam the door on 2020, and it's good to be in the new year, and there's a lot happening in the world of sports. And so we're going to get into some of these hot topics here. As always, please go to realsportsguys.com. We actually have an interview coming up with former top assistant coach John Wetzel, who was assistant coach with those great Sacramento Kings teams and the Portland Trailblazers. He had some great stories about, especially those Portland Trailblazers, and talked about the emotions that they felt when Robert Horry hit that shot against the Lakers. So there's a great interview that'll be there. So check it out there on realsportsguys.com, and as well as all the other content we got. And we got Seku's annual kind of hip hop and review on the page as well as the podcast with him and Marcus talking about it. A lot of good stuff there. And obviously the guys here, they've been knocking out the box. And so for those who may not know, we want to make sure you know who's in the building. So I want to bring them on board before we get into our show. Let me start with the youngin, the Mr. Analytics, Mr. Break 'em Down, Mr. Under the Numbers, Between the Numbers, Around the Numbers, Darnell Kirkland Jr. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Like I always say, don't have bad days, man. But today might have been a bad day if they didn't pick the right person. But no, I'm just making it. You know what? You're there above ground, and I'm just ready to get the show on the road. That's it.
Every day we have here to be able to have an impact. We're blessed to be here, and yet we'll definitely get into that Heisman talk. And then we got our man. They call him the Hammer. He'll hammer his point home on your butt if you don't get in up the way. You'll bring that South Side in every once in a while. Let people know. Our man Carl Hampton. How you doing, Carl?
Doing well, man. Just looking forward to chopping it up. And I didn't know the Heisman was tonight. Shouldn't admit that on a sports show, but I didn't know. But but the bottom line is that Devontae Smith, happy for the brother, and hope he has that's the bottom line. So, well, man.
All right, and then last but not least, he always brings it on. We go to the post to him a lot. When we need a bucket, it's our man Hank Davis. How you doing, Hank?
I'm doing good, and I just want to make it a Super Bowl MVP. Okay, so I just leave that there. But I wanted to, I love this team that I have here. We are competitive. We talk our game, but I'm going to take myself out the game and let Steve come on in for me in the last 2 minutes because that's how I do. I play to win. So I'm going to take, I figured if Philly can do it.
Well. Okay, we're going to do that, and we're going to mess up. We are going to talk about the judge over here. We will get into that as we get into the open mic a little bit. But yeah, let's do that. Let's start with our open mic. Joe Judge laid down the gauntlet. First year head coach, came out pretty strong against what he saw happening in the Eagle game. A lot of discussion across the airwaves about it. And the Eagles, as we said, just laid down. They just kind of laid down and didn't get up. A lot of controversy how that game ended in terms of not having Jalen Hurts in the game at the end of the game with a chance to really kind of pull that out. Cost the Giants, as they saw it, an opportunity to go to the playoffs and allow Washington to secure their spot. But this is nothing new. We see teams handle this final week differently. My Pittsburgh Steelers didn't start Ben Roethlisberger, and who said that would have helped or not, but allowed Cleveland obviously clinched the spot and was able to make the playoffs. Pittsburgh didn't put all their players there in place. So these things happen, but there was definitely a reaction to what happened in Philly. Now we'll start with the youngin. Darnell, you're a coach. So we'll bring that as well as I know Hank, you coached. When you saw how the end of that game was played, what was your reaction? Do you agree with people like Judge in terms of how that was handled, or is this much to do?
That's just disrespectful to the game, man. These dudes, they put their life on the line for the game. The Eagles are gonna do that, man. That was bad, man. It was a bad look, especially when they trying to evaluate Sutherfield. I mean, come on now. It's not an equation. It's either Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. What better way than to see what can he do? When the heat is on, the team's down. There's only a couple minutes in the game. Let's see what he can do. See if he can get us this win. Yeah.
Well, I understand that. Well, Hammer, I'm gonna bring you in and then follow up with Hank. But what much to do about nothing, or do you believe?
Well, I think the problem is, tanking. Tanking is not the problem. The problem is how you. That was just too obvious, and so they should have just played Sutherfield the whole game if you really wanted to evaluate him. So, I'm glad he did do it in a sense that that Philadelphia's has a higher pick. They went from 9 to 6. I think it's a debacle to have a 6-10 team in the playoffs. I think Washington was going to have a much against Tom Brady with their front seven. So excited for that game actually with their line and also the fact that it might not be 100%. So. And then you look at the fact that the compelling story of the football team, how they started the year with a cultural change as far as then the name change, really having to deal with the bad press that Snyder got as far as sexual harassment things, and the cancer Rivera overcame, the surgeries that Alex Smith overcame. And they had a nice backfield with Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and good. Yeah. So again, I think that and nice defense, and I think that they possibly upset Tampa Bay next week. So I think it's just up. Working the Giants would again. So, but just if you want to tank a game, tank it the right way. Do it. Mason Rudolph, yeah. Don't play Jalen Hurts for 3 quarters. He didn't look good either. Yeah, so you can look at it. We're going to evaluate him. Yeah, but play Sutherfield the whole game. That's what I would have done. And if you really want and just sit down and put their mask on and not get hurt and not getting blown there, blowing out their knee like Bakhtiari did. So that's where I am. So I really, like I said, in the moment it was foul, but look at it in the big scheme of things, Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie are probably happier. They weren't going to playoffs anyway, and yeah, they have a higher draft pick. Could get Devon Smith because.
Yeah, I think, and it depends on how you actually do what you do with that draft pick. And they've been questionable with their drafts here in recent years. I think that's, part of the criticism is, let's see, you better stick to this draft. When you think about it, you better get this draft pick right, because there's gonna be a lot of eyes on it now that it's obvious you try to get that 6th pick, and you better knock it out the box. And so there's a little bit more pressure on this. Now, Hank, you've been with a team like the Lions has been, they've been in the process for at least 3 years. They like the football version of the 76ers. And so
30 years.
I love to hear your opinion on how this game is handled.
Look, okay, first of all, there was two thoughts there. Okay, the first thought you about Ben Roethlisberger and that team sitting out players. That team's already in the playoffs. Okay, nothing to really gain as far as seeding. I don't believe by winning by playing guys. So that's why that was done. What bothered me the most about what I was watching was that I wanted to see Jalen Hurts to see how he was going to, progress and everything. And I don't think it would have had any outcome. I think Washington wins anyway. But give the theater of the game. You had the Giants watching this game, right? You're having Jalen Hurts, which, if nothing else, you know he can make plays with his feet, and you just take him out, and you bring in Sudfeld. That's why I said you might as well have, bring in, the quarterback. No quarterback.
I like Steve. I ain't gonna say that now.
My shout out to my boy. He know I love him. I use him all the time. He know that. But that's my point. Is that it don't make sense with theater of the game, with a playoff position, at stake. That's the thing about it that I think that, it's how you tank. But when you know that this is going on, I think sometimes to me, it was like you owe it to the game to be given in baseball, we see this all the time, where you got to win one game against, they're playing maybe the last place team. But if they can win, clinch a playoff spot, that last place team will give it everything they got with those players to try to keep them out and play that spoiler thing. And the thing is about it is we've gotten so far into what we already got an eye on the next year. We were already looking at a draft spot. They weren't going to be, I don't think they were Redskins anyway. I don't think so, because as you said, Jalen Hurts wasn't looking good, and that front four is bad. That team is a team to be reckoned with. If they can figure out the quarterback situation, I don't think Alex Smith is the answer, because of his health. You see him get hit, you just cringe for him, But that front four and that front seven that the Redskins got is the truth. That's the defense that's coming. I look forward to seeing. I don't know if they're ready to beat Tampa Bay simply if Sudfeld could complete a, you want to hear me say something that I said 4 years ago, and he was talking, do you believe in miracles? Yes, that cracked me up, just the way him Collinsworth, responded. Like what? So that was kind of funny, and I felt the same way. I wanted to see a competitive game down the stretch. It was just clear we weren't going to get that. So, I kind of like, I told the competitive game. That's why I don't watch the Lions.
and I would say that the worst thing about it is I said Peterson got what I call the Slim Charles award. It was a lie. We gonna fight on that lie, from the wire. He just he looked in the camera and was like, I know this is gonna be a lie and I'm gonna die on this one. And he just kept it moving. Yeah, and it just there's
better.
Questionable. Yeah, it's been a lot of questionable decisions as it relates to Philadelphia this year. I mean, their offseason is going to be interesting in terms of how do they regroup and get themselves, kind of back.
Yeah, cap problems. They got big time cap problems.
Yeah.
Big time cap problems.
So So what they end up doing is going to be interesting to see kind of how they respond in this offseason to watch. Well, we got college football going here, and we had the semifinals, and I told y'all, don't say nothing about that guy, Day. Keep his name out your mouth. Didn't I say that last week? I said, keep your name out. I found something out about this guy. I said early on, he got that look like keep your name. He like the Marlo Stanfield of college football. Keep your name out his mouth. And I don't think Dabo going to be doing it. I love when the Buckeye fans look, goodbye. What did they say? Like, so long, Dabo? Whatever they were singing at the end of the game to Dabo. But you learn something to keep your name out his mouth. Them Buckeyes came out and played very highly spirited, as we could say. Looking at that semifinal game, just what you saw, what was obviously the Notre Dame game went the way I think most of y'all said they were going to go. So we're not going to get too much into that. But Darnell, when you looked at did you break down and everything else with this? Let's just focus on the Clemson and Ohio State game. What was it about Ohio State that made the difference in that game?
Well, it's funny because almost all the things that I was saying when I was breaking it down, it came except for the Justin Fields part. My miscalculation was watching the last couple games where Justin Fields didn't seem like he didn't have any. I didn't think he was going to have, especially with the playing against a better team in Clemson that we thought. You know what I'm saying? Playing against a team like Clemson, I thought be out of rhythm. They play every other week. It seems like every game there's somebody else that's not playing. But I just didn't think that he would have the rhythm. But I did think Ohio State had the players to dominate both lines of scrimmage. I thought they were better at both lines of scrimmage. But the difference was Justin Fields and perform like he did. And that game was pure comedy because if you would have said before the game that Clemson was going to the key targeting call and have a fumble that didn't get overturned, you would have thought it was like some kind of fan fiction or something. Like it wasn't real.
Well, yeah, and I would say that I learned a lot while watching Justin Fields in that game, and a lot of respect for how he played. He's got a lot of heart. He's got a competitive spirit.
I told you, he's a Russell Westbrook of college football.
You hit me right on. He got that Russell Westbrook of college football. You hit it right on task, right there. Hammer, I'm going to switch over and get you like Notre Dame, man. You
want me to talk about Clemson? Okay.
I'll let you get back to Clemson, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on Kelly's response in the post-conference conversation. He had. Coming. What's going on with that, man?
Well, I think Brian Kelly's exasperated at the fact that Notre Dame just can't make it to the next step. And in the news today that Jack Cohn transfers to Notre Dame, that's indicative of the fact that they're not talented. Jack Cohn is not a quarterback. I was Rutgers or something like that before I heard Notre Dame. He's not that good. I'm telling the truth. I mean, Jackson's nice guy. I heard him on, but he's not a great. I mean, he's a study guy, but guys degree. But yeah, but the bottom line with Notre Dame is that Lou Holtz showed really when he showed his feet as far as where Notre Dame was going when he left Notre Dame when the broadcast booth when they upped the standards in Notre Dame, they were compromising the product. And even though they have this ACC heavy schedule in this year with the pandemic, obviously with all ACC, when they're back to other side of the pandemic and they're playing the Stanford of the world and things like that, I just question again their talent against with the type of schedule they have, and you have some good draft, good linemen, but they're overmatched. Ian Book is just overmatched. Really trying his best with his limited ability to do well. He's a free agent quarterback. I mean, he might get drafted 7th round, but and like I said, Notre Dame too is the curse of Tyrann. I think the way they did my brother Willingham, they always suffer. So because they didn't do him right. So I'll never forget that where them out and then they. Yeah, so that the only person I love Notre Dame, they know that love like is my man Mario Morris, who I hope will be AD one day, but doing his thing with Swarbrick up at So I'm not surprised at all with Bama. They should have been a game anyway. I mean, we are about A&M. We can argue about it, but I think I'd rather see A&M than see them. So yeah.
How many points did Texas A&M lose Alabama?
They got whooped. They got whooped, but that was early in the season. I think they. So my point, I think they would have had a better showing than Notre Dame getting the brakes beaten off of them, and then you have. We're talking about no.
Right.
Yeah, trying to get whooped. Yeah, trying to get whooped. Yeah.
No, definitely deserve this spot. If anybody going to get blown out.
Well, no,
because
because
you
they
throw
they
Texas
barely
A&M,
they barely
they
beat
will
a
get blown
barely
out.
beat a team with ukulele at home. They got blown out by
Notre
Clemson
Dame beat Clemson. Who else is going to beat
without
Clemson?
Trevor. Without Trevor. So.
DJ Uiagalelei threw for 400 yards.
I know that. He's still not better than Trevor Lawrence right now. He's going to be a great quarterback.
Better than Trevor Lawrence, but that doesn't mean that Notre Dame didn't deserve to be there. Notre Dame had the best win out of any of the other teams.
That's not a real win without Trevor Lawrence.
It's not a real okay.
It's not with Trevor Lawrence in Notre Dame. You go OT against no.
Hey, Clemson without Trevor Lawrence is still better than 95% of college football teams.
I agree with Ukulele, but I still think that I think they should have done much better in that game than what they did. But as far as winning, but again, it is what it is. We have the championship game now. I'm out commenting a little bit about the Clemson game. The thing that stunned me was that we had the highest paid coordinator in the business. His people weren't lined up right. I mean, I'm like, they should replace him in the middle of the game. Venables, he's stealing money. I mean, he's got $2.5 million.
How is he stealing money and he's in the business? Like, can't you just have? How you
like in high school
and stealing money?
I mean, these kids they got lined up. I mean, they're getting scholarships. They're not even lined up properly.
I don't want to light a fire here or something. But there has been allegations in the past. They're notorious for Breville.
Yeah, something happened. I mean, they look. That defense looked horrendous. That's all I got to say.
Let me say this one thing. What Ohio State was doing was they were up. They were letting them see what. So they were looking over there to Venables in the call, and then they'll just get up
throwing a play for a touchdown or throwing the So I mean, again. Defense was just awful. I mean, again, Venables should not have been paid for that game. If they paid by game,
I told you Ohio State's going to be able to run on Clemson. And once
you told me that. I mean, I thought Sermon was a one-hit wonder. He's not. I mean,
Notre Dame ran on Clemson. Again, Clemson's defense wasn't at the level of the Clemson defense.
Not of the last years, but they still should perform better than that. I mean, So, I mean, but the main thing is that Notre Dame got whooped, Clemson got whooped, and we got a nice title game. And I hope Justin Fields, ran the targeting penalty by Skalski, and we're gonna have Saban at Sark and his OC before he takes over at Texas. And I mean, Elliott being out of the game, I wonder if that hurt the offense somewhat. The offense is imaginative, especially with Etienne. Look again, he looked like he lost a lot of money this year. So,
well, that's what happens when the running back doesn't have an offensive line. But
true. I mean, again, I think Etienne will be a good. I mean, it matters the system too. I mean, I'm not gonna say it. There are a lot of running backs in the wrong system who quarterbacks do all positions for them. Like Chase Young, you plug him anywhere. But
let's bring Hank in here. Hank, your thoughts on these semifinal games before we move to the championship game predictions.
Listen, I think that we knew this wasn't a vintage Clemson defense. We knew that. We talked about it last week. But the thing that I'm concerned about was the fact that, number one, you had a starving Ohio State team. We talked about tired of Clemson's act. In Clemson, they last week that the only time they beat Clemson was when their historic coach pushed the kid under his.
They didn't beat Clemson then,
and they didn't beat Clemson then. But the coach did. The coach beat the Clemson. What I'm saying, they didn't win the game. They didn't win the game, and I think they had. You're right. Justin Fields out of his mind in that game. It was just downright embarrassing. It was downright embarrassing in the first half. You had guys look like they were falling out of parachutes. They were so wide open. And I could not last year when I was watching Clemson play Ohio State is that there was a lot. And you talk about Brent Venables, they had a defense in the last 2 years on those quarterbacks and all now with Clemson. And I saw a lot of Don Brown's defense in Brett Venables' defense this year. Okay, because those guys are that. JT Barrett was there and they got that big goose egg. So it's not like Ohio State wasn't competitive the last 2 years with this team. So I'm not surprised that they got it over the hump. You know, when I saw Sermon was able to run, I'm like, this is going to either be a track meet or Ohio State's going to pull a side of what Ohio State did. Ohio State just smashed them. But had they played Ohio State, had they played Clemson, had they played Alabama, was going to get mad. They simply weren't going to be able to stay with them offensively. Now, they make their money, but they weren't going to be able to stay with none of those teams offensively. So we've got a championship game, and it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody. You know that Ohio State was going to be hungry. They weren't going to just lay down and roll over Clemson the second straight year.
All right, so now you got Ohio State taking on Alabama, and Alabama's a juggernaut, and Ohio State's coming in again, being put in that same position, but I don't think Saban will make the same mistake. I don't think he will put that bulletin board material up there. I don't think he'll do anything to antagonize Marlo Stansfield of coaching, who Ryan Day is, who just got that memory. You want it one way, but it's the other kind of memory that I'm learning that he got. But now it's coming down. We got to talk about who's going to win. And so we'll start with you, Hampton. Who do you got? Who do you got? And why?
I like what's been reported right now. We got looks like Warnock's going to be going to the United States Senate. So Bama's going to win it like Reverend Warnock. So I think sees a day, and Scott's going to give a great offense. Their offense is amazing, but it's going to be I think Fields going to come out, ball. Sean Wade's last game, he going to ball. So it's going to be, like I said, but I think
Sean Wade's going to be in trouble. I'll tell you that.
But I mean, Sean, I think he might come back. But my mind is, I think Bama's going to win.
Toast Wade.
I think Bama's going to get the championship. And again, I love to see. I mean, Saban's just been amazing these 13 years. When those idiots didn't want to sign Drew Brees was another story. So they go have a tangent. But Bama just too offensively powerhouse. Najee Harris. I mean, it's just amazing. The offensive weapons they have. Smith, I know if Jalen Wild comes back, we had a little argument in the group text about me. I hope he doesn't come back for his family, but if he comes back, he balls. I mean, you're one hit away, but that's what he might be thinking. Hurt anyway. So, but if he comes back, that's gonna be frightening. So, especially if he's healthy. So, but that's where I think Ohio State they just be enough. So.
All right, Hank, who you got?
Listen, I'm willing to say the last one with the ball wins. Oh,
don't give me that.
I watched the SEC championship game, and Florida put some points on Alabama. Okay, and I believe from what I've seen that Ohio State is better offensively than Florida. Why? Because they can run the football. Okay. And that is a great equalizer. Okay. We talked about Najee Harris, but Sermon has been clowning the last couple of times. Okay. Oh, now you run play action. Olave should be a first rounder, in my opinion. Okay. So the thing about this is that we hear about them. Ohio State has shown something in that game against Clemson. Okay, and you talk about Ryan Day. Ryan Day is going to put some points up on that defense. Okay, really, Alabama. This is not a vintage Alabama defense neither. Okay, so if you're gonna ask the question who's gonna win, if you're gonna hold me to it, I say
Ask the
Alabama.
question.
I say Ohio State. I say Ohio State scores too soon in the fourth quarter. Okay, and we're down to like the last 9, and they give the ball to Harris, third down and maybe short. They're looking for a run to Najee Harris. They do play action. Your Heisman Trophy winner gets over the middle. He beats the secondary and scores the game-winning touchdown. And I think that Alabama squeaks out one, 55-51.
Hey, great minds think alike, because I was
Darn.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hoop game. We go. That's gonna be one we're gonna want to have quit. I'm telling you, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a high scoring game.
All right, Darnell, what you got? Young.
Yeah, I got pretty much the same thing. The matchups was really intriguing to me because I watched in the Florida game earlier today, and we watched the Ole Miss game as well. Alabama can be ran on. They can run the football. Alabama, their offensive line for Ohio is the unsung hero. Everybody's talking about Trey Sermon. I got love those games. Trey Sermon is getting 10, 15 yards down the field without being touched because those holes are so open. But if you watch the Ole Miss game, you can run Alabama. The big matchup, the heavyweight fight is going to be and Garrett Wilson versus Josh Jobe. I would pay to see that, man. It's going to be a great matchup. But on the other side, like I said, I don't know Ohio State secondary is going to hold up as well. You know what I'm saying? Because Devontae Smith, he's something special. Like his route running, he's like the second coming of Marvin Harrison, or that's what kind of route running he presents. And you have a guy like Sean Wade. Once again, I got love for Sean Wade. By the end of the day, he's a safety playing corner. But it's gonna be a tough order for him. But the only saving grace for them is it's amazing. And if they can keep
That's Sean Wade. That's Sean Wade calling you.
Sean,
Yeah.
that's his dad calling
you like, I got locked up. I got locked up.
Hey man, if the D-line, this is the key for Ohio State's defense to somewhat, stop bleeding. If the defensive line can stop the run without having to put in the run fit, if they can just have their base, just send 4 D linemen and they can stop the run like that, like they were doing against Clemson. Yeah, you can send extra resources against the pass. You can make sure that no matter what, Devontae Smith has 2 guys on him no matter what, and that's what they're gonna have to do. Kirk Herbstreit was talking about, Sean Wade plays soft. He plays not soft as in he's soft, but soft as in he gives a lot of cushion. But that's what you have to do. You have to keep giving them the 5-yard gains, the 4-yard gains, and you got to make sure you don't get beat. And when they get in the red zone, you got to hold them to 3 instead of 7. And that's the key to winning the game for Ohio State. At the end of the day, I think Alabama has too much. Like he said, I think the score is going to be 55-52. Neither defense is going to be able to stop the other, in my opinion.
So I look at it as the teams that have given Saban teams trouble have quarterbacks who are mobile. Ohio State, check. and a quarterback that has also kind of a championship kind of gravitas, and I think until when I watched the Clemson game, I'm like, okay, this young man got that. They got the running game. And I think to beat Alabama, you almost got to be like Penn State did against Miami back in the day. You might have to let them catch it and dislodge them from the football. Sometimes you just got to hit and hit. And Ohio State players will hit. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be closer. But after watching that young man Smith give his speech today after winning the Heisman, and watching the community he comes from, and watching like this guy comes from the ground up. I mean, built on good foundation. You watch him, he's not somebody who's gonna be denied. He played like he playing for his last supper. He played, he ain't supposed to be there. And when you got a cat like
Not supposed to be there.
you know what I'm saying? He played like that every day. He ain't supposed to be there.
Right.
And I don't know if you can quite stop that. I mean,
Allen Iverson kind of vibe to him.
yeah, he just got it. And you look at all them community members, you look at, you know, Kirk, we understand this, Taylorsville, South Carolina, you understand when you come from something, right? When you come from something like that and you got that all on your back, there's something that's driving this young man that is something different. And I agree with y'all. He's the difference. In a tight game, he gonna make a play. He gonna do something. You gonna be able to hold on to him. You might keep him to 1 or 2 catches, but in the fourth, he gonna make that one play because he is just not gonna be denied. And it's hard to say that about a receiver,
Right.
when you know the ball is gonna be coming to him. But he just,
Man, he proved that
yeah.
as a true freshman. He hit the game-winning touchdown catch against Georgia in the national championship game. It was like, who is this kid? That's Devontae Smith. Who was that kid? Tua. My bad, Tua.
He knew exactly where he was going with it. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. It's going to be fireworks, and sometimes it's that one player that just separates for everybody, and he might be that difference as well. So, and speaking of him, he wins the Heisman, and announced today, and the first person to do it since receiver to do it since Desmond. I think only 4 receivers historically have gotten a Heisman. It felt like the right move. Obviously he had his teammate there. Actually, he had 2 other teammates, one at 5th. You had Trevor Lawrence there as well, sitting there as well as Task from Florida. But Smith is the one who comes away with it. Any final thoughts just about Smith and him winning the Heisman? Hank, and then we'll go to Darnell, then end up with Carl before we go to the cycle.
It was the most, because he was the most consistent player of the year. Okay, Kyle Trask, everybody wanted to talk about him early, but Florida floundered. Okay, Devontae Smith was there, on one of the most explosive offenses in college football this year. So that made all the sense. Trevor Lawrence had to sit out for the COVID, plus they lost. And the votes were in, but does he get from Lawrence is what I'm talking about. If they stay, who knows? But you can't take nothing away. We just got through talking about Devontae Smith. Just a raw, just a straight talent. He deserved it. And you really can't make that argument for anybody else. He was the most consistent player, and he made the Alabama quarterback look good. You actually made him a Heisman candidate. But it was Devontae Smith, and I'm glad the voters got it right.
All right, Kirk, I know you're there. Your thoughts, final thoughts on Devontae Smith before we close out our conversation.
This is a proud moment for me. I got out when I said Devontae Smith, the best wide receiver on Alabama. I said he's better than Jerry Jeudy. I said he's better than him. I said he's better than Jalen Waddle. I said Devontae Smith is the best team. Everyone's like, nah, Jerry Judy's the best receiver in the country. I was like, no. Devontae Smith, watch the way he runs routes. Devontae Smith is the best wide receiver on the team. And this year, when the spotlight is on him, Jalen Waddle's hurt, Judy's in the NFL, Ruggs is in the NFL, Devontae Smith shows. When my number is called, I'm the best out there. I can do what nobody's done in my lifetime. We haven't seen him win the Heisman Trophy before. He put his team on his back. Like you said, he comes from he plays with that fire, like he's not supposed to be there. And truthfully, a lot of people say he's not. They say he's too small. You know what I'm saying? When he came to Alabama, he was only 157 pounds, but now he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and that's just amazing.
Can I say something? Did you say we've never seen a wide receiver win the Heisman Trophy?
Lifetime. I was
25 years old.
Your lifetime is all of 10 minutes. So we understand that. So
You miss it.
you just say you should just say a long time. Don't just you put a capital Y statement, y'all. Boy, I tell you.
All right, Amber, we're gonna have a great shit and close it out.
No, I mean, he definitely is deserving. Plus, after the Wild injury, he really stepped up. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Judy as well as Ruggs were better receivers. I thought Smith, probably a second rounder, but he really showed explosiveness, especially when his value would have gone down as far as them being able to key on him up. So, I have to definitely say he's the most player in the country. And with Lawrence, and you're right, COVID, that really knocked him out. Trask, Mac Jones, great year, but Jonathan Bonte Smith, as far as all he can do is returning kicks, the way he can change a game just on one move, definitely was a pick. And, I'll give Darnell credit. He called it before the betting odds called it, because we talked about Trask and Mac Jones and all that. And, he said so, yeah.
Well, we're going to get in a little bit of NBA, but we're going to keep this football thing going and get into the cipher, because I think it's important because, NFL playoffs are ramping up. We got moves happening with firings and in an NFL, lots been going on, and I definitely wanted to kind of get y'all prediction of where you see what's going to happen in terms of some of these changes that we have going on in the NFL. So let's get into the cipher and talk about our main topic. Let's get into what we call that that main course of the meal when we're going to talk about, obviously Black Monday, Black Sunday, Black whatever. Changes have been happening. Things have been happening. And we got a lot of openings going on right now. There's been a lot of debate on what is the most desirable job and situation. I'd love to get y'all opinion and get y'all to weigh in on, when we're looking at these various openings, which one you think is the most desirable in terms of openings that we have, where, people are hiring for GMs, they're hiring for coaches, but if you're a coach in that situation, what you think is like the most desirable opening right now in the NFL? Hamp, I'm gonna start with you. What do you see as the most desirable opening?
LA Chargers, definitely. Because Herbert.
Yep. Go ahead.
Herbert exceeded expectations. I don't know who that doctor was who punctured Taylor's lung, but I hope Herbert got him a good Christmas gift, because that's just stunning hearing about how his own teammates didn't just get in the game. But no, Herbert's balling. So that's the main thing. You got 7-9 team. Brother Lynn, a good coach. I hate to say that because he's had some good. See my brothers do well, but we can't accept from our brothers as well. We can't do that because that hurts us. Dwayne Haskins with black quarterbacks. We have one black quarterback clowning, but it's all in the same boat. So I definitely think with Bosa, that defense, Austin Eckler is just a nice club, and with the right coach, and I can see Harbaugh going down there. He coached at the University of San Diego. He's been in California, young quarterback, mobile quarterback. I think it's a desirable opening. People are going to say, Jacksonville because of Trevor, and Trevor I think is a great talent. Don't get me wrong, but again, they went 1-15 for a reason. There are a lot of things they need as a quarterback, and so brother Trevor, he's got great mobility. He's gonna need it next year, running away from passing. So no, I think definitely LA Chargers is the best opening, and I would like to see Harbaugh there candidly. I think that's a great fit. So.
And I think Jacksonville is interesting because you got Robinson down there, running back, young man from Rockford, Illinois. Came in,
great year for him, man. Great year.
Running in. You got a running game there. You got some interesting receivers down there, and they got a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of moves. They got some draft picks over there that they can work with. But you're right. I think a ready-made system over there in San Diego. You got on both sides of the ball. You got some Pro Bowl talent in receiving. You got Pro Bowl talent probably in the backfield, running back level, tight end. I mean, you got some pieces together that with the right leadership and focus, they had some problems with time management here down the stretch, which cost them in some games, which that's going to land on the coaching. When you lose because of those kind of things, variables you control, that's going to hurt you. If it was an injury, a devastating injury that cost you, you just had to overcome it. I think people can sleep on it. But when those are self-inflicted wounds, I think that hurt. And Lynn's a great coach, but I think when you have things like that just
he's a good coach. Yeah, great coach, man.
I think
job.
I'm developmental a lot because I think
he's a player's coach.
Yeah, but I also
he's got
that
I'm a lovey. I think that.
I'm gonna say I think black coaches operate in a system with not as many areas to. They don't have as much latitude a lot of times as white coaches to do things.
I agree with that.
Create so I think that when I saw him coach, I saw the way the team responded to him. I think there were times they had great game plans. He was also managing when he came on board with a veteran, Hall of Fame quarterback who's near the end of his career. I think the bridging of his coaching opportunity in San Diego had much more complications. I think like a lot of coaches, get back into the assistant coach rank, coordinator rank, maybe resurface now, come back, in a better, but I think he had a lot of good foundation. I just think he came in to San Diego, which happens especially with black coaches, where it's weird experiences, handling that Rivers exit, handling now trying to, I think it was just a weird, and then on top.
He handled staff well. I mean, he threw Wisner under the bus, and that was, he threw a special bus. So he threw right in the bus. Eventually.
Yeah, but white coaches do that all the time. White coaches do that all the time, and don't get for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we know we can be real. We're real sports guys. We can be real stars. White coaches ain't getting. I mean, you ain't ended up Ray Rhodes. They were white. He would have gotten 2 or 3 years.
But that's what I'm saying. So we have to be vocal. But our job is that we have to be vocal. But our job with that is we also have to be vocal around the developmental opportunities for these coaches and really capture the reality.
I think we need to have younger blood. I mean, Lynn has a chance. Lynn has a chance 4 years.
Yeah, but he's not a young.
I want to see Bieniemy. I want to see Bieniemy. I want to see.
That's a zero-sum mentality. Yeah, we should see Bieniemy and Lynn should be able to position himself to get another opportunity. We should be talking about capacity. There's enough opportunity. It should be just we need to, have this zero-sum kind of approach and pull one guy out and add.
Zero-sum approach.
My thing is about he's a guy who could coach.
I don't think too long they right though.
But I'm saying he's a guy.
No, I think he'll coach. I think he'll coach again.
He could be another head coach again. He could be a head coach. Yeah, he'll learn.
Another head coach. He's gonna learn from. He's gonna learn from experience because you. The bottom line is with that type of talented going 7-9.
Yeah, and at the same time, he was also dealing with the madness with Melvin Gordon. So he had a Pro Bowl level running back that didn't come. Like he had more stuff happening with him as a coach that had player personnel issues dealing with because of the way that the Chargers are attitude towards free agency. There's a lot of stuff that was part of his issue that wasn't just his working that he had to deal with and work around where he didn't have because they couldn't get a deal done with Gordon. They couldn't have some of that stuff. So there's a lot of issues going on when he was managing and keeping them winning. That was part of the deal that should be recognized. All right.
Again, I would advocate as far as, I think he should have, I think I would have probably liked the development. He's a running backs guy. I like the development that Herbert had, but I mean, they looked at the season. They saw.
They talk about Pep. Hank, they
losses.
said Pep is a great guy. Everybody talk about Pep, Hank. What they talk
Yeah,
about? Now, Hank probably got a different
Happy head
opinion than
coach.
Steve does about Pep. But
Yeah, Steve can't stand Pep. I didn't have a
Steve
problem.
can't stand Pep.
I think there was
Y'all
more
can't
going
stand
on
Rich
than Pep.
Rodriguez. If Bray Ho walked, I don't know what major street is in Ypsilanti. If Bray Ho walked, they would bum rush him. He probably wouldn't hear them coming though. He had a hearing problem, right? He wouldn't hear him coming. So,
all right, we gonna go. So Hammer's going with San Diego. All right, Hank, who you got?
Well, as far as the team and a coach looking to make an instant impact, you have LA Chargers. Herbert, you got the future there. Okay. To me, the Jets is a dumpster fire, but I would like to throw my hat in the ring for my Detroit Lions. And the reason why I say the Detroit Lions is because if you got to get a decent package deal, and this is really determining on who they hire as GM. And the only reason why I say that is because you have an ownership group here in Detroit that's not going to bother you. Okay, you got full autonomy. If you're good, you can run this town. Unfortunately, they keep hiring bad people. Okay, to their credit, they went to the New England Patriots, hired the wrong folks. Okay, they went to a championship squad, but they hired the wrong folks. As far as the product on the field, we really don't know development there. Do have Swift. You do have the young man from Ohio State, the cornerback. You do have some pieces there you can work with, but you have an opportunity. You have a framework to build a team if you get the right GM in there. If you're talking about for next year, no, not the Lions, definitely not the Jets. And Jacksonville, that ownership group down there, you got to keep a side eye on. They're doing all that they can down there to really help that team win. But as far as a team that you can really build and turn something into without really any interference from an ownership group, I look at the Lions. That's the one thing that if they get it right, they're the GM and the coach is kings here. Period.
It's interesting the names that even the Lions, and so the name that is Marv Lewis has been circulated. But the one thing you did get a statement from the Lions president, like we need a change in culture, right? The owner, they basically said we got to have a change in culture. So that is at least a group that wants to find the right people to change the culture. So that's interesting. You weren't the first one to bring it up, but there's a lot of the reports are like they are probably one of the organizations with a veteran quarterback that are ready to win with the right culture, with the right leadership to actually do something. That's an interesting kind of thing. Darnell's over there making his thing. So where are you going to go with it, Darnell? To the Jets? Where you going?
I never said they were ready to win. I said.
No, I'm saying there were reports. I'm saying there some of the reports when you read it saying that they're in a position to actually to win because of some of the pieces just weren't used right by the previous coaches, but there's some talent on the team that can, with the right organization, can win with a quarterback like Stafford. People really believe in Stafford. I have other opinions, but go ahead, Darnell.
Yeah, me too.
Well, it's easy. It's the Chargers because especially for me because I'm a big fan of building the house. I know Trevor Lawrence is superior to Herbert, but I'm a fan of building the house. When you have the Chargers, you have Justin Herbert, like you said. You have a running back in Austin Eckler. You have Keenan Allen. You got Hunter Henry. You got Mike Williams. On defense, you have Joe Bosa. You got Ingram. You got Casey Hayward. You got if Derwin James ever gets healthy, if he ever gets healthy, he's a problem. And they're just in a great position to keep building and keep growing forward, especially if you put a good coach behind them. But I will say Jacksonville, you can turn them around pretty quick with the picks that they have, because they have 2 first rounders, 2 second rounders, and a 3rd round pick. So you can really infuse talent quickly if you take the Jaguars out.
Yeah, and the thing about that out of the San Diego equation is you still got to deal with Kansas City, and you got to deal with a kind of a Raider team that's getting together. But Kansas City is like your biggest obstacle, right? And so you can build a team, but you got to deal with Patrick Mahomes. Whereas in Jacksonville, yeah, you got Tennessee there, but you got a division that's pretty much. In Indianapolis looking solid, but it's not a big head start. Like you could close a gap in that division and take it. So I wonder how much that fits into the equation. You know, not only building your team and being able to lead, but who you got to compete with right away. And I mean, you look at that Patrick Mahomes. You know, you could, you know, it's like, you know, you try to win a championship when you had to face Jordan. You got some great teams, but sometimes you just ain't gonna make it, right? And there's a lot of teams that just didn't make it. So, you know, when you know Kansas City's gonna be that good for a while, probably for the foreseeable future, next 6, 7, 8 years, you know, does that come into the equation when you're thinking about this? You know, you might have to be a perennial wildcard team, right? Always traveling. That's an interesting part of it versus Jacksonville. That's a division that's pretty much up in the air for the most part. Nobody's taking ownership of it. Tennessee is probably the most solidly run organization, but they're built on a running back who could fall off anytime now. Like he might be good for the next 2 years, but then they got to figure out where they're going from there. They don't have what I would say a franchise.
Away, man.
You know what I'm saying? They got a great coach. They got a great culture, but they got to figure out how to replace that running back here probably in the next 2 or 3 years. So
AJ Brown too. AJ Brown's a beast, man. So,
yeah, but that depends on having a good quarterback. And I'm not Tannehill. I'm not sold on him. Like I'm not scared of him like I'm scared of Mahomes. The reason why I'm scared of Tennessee, the reason why you're scared of Tennessee is because they got a guy who can throw you out the club. That's why you're scared of him. They got a guy.
And they got a nice. He's backed up by a nice. He's backed up by a nice quarterback. I mean, Tannehill helps accentuate. There's a reason why that with Tannehill behind the helm. Let's be real now. I mean, Mario. You want to put up these numbers with Mariota? You want to put up these numbers with Mariota? Let's be real about it.
Tannehill was throwing for.
Tannehill was putting up these numbers.
This cat was throwing people. No, man.
That was with the helm, not with Marcus.
So you take him off. You went in with Tannehill. I'm not scared of Tannehill.
No, but I'm saying
like I'm not looking across there.
I'm saying Tannehill help.
But if you're looking at a team to lead, are you scared of Tennessee?
But I'm saying Tannehill helps complement Henry better. It's shown by the fact that
it don't put no fear.
It's got much better with Mariota gone.
Are you more scared of Tannehill or in Tennessee?
I'm scared of Henry more, but I also know that with Mario,
are you more? Are you scared of Mahomes?
Mario is not consistent.
Come on. I'm gonna tell you this: if you got to figure out who you're competing against. I'm less worried about Tennessee than I am Kansas City. So, and I'm looking at that like that. So I'm saying that has to be part of the equation when you're looking at how can you build and be sustainable. It's one of those things to think about. I'm not saying you don't have to, but if you're gonna have that San Diego job, you're gonna be dealing with Mahomes for a long time.
Hey, if I'm an NFL coach, I ain't scared of nobody. Let's just say it like that. No.
Mahomes got hurt. I mean, you won, like you said, you one hit away. Mahomes got hurt last year. They had Matt Moore playing. So I mean, you're one hit away. Also, that defense is really not that great.
I'm saying the Chargers have the pieces to match up.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Chargers. I disagree with Devon. I don't think that I think, for instance, I think the Packers are going to beat Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I truly believe that.
But you say if Derwin James is healthy, he might.
That's big if. That's like if I had an afro, I don't have one.
That's what I'm saying.
He might be one of the.
When has a Bosa completed a season?
That's true. Yeah, I mean,
he's always
hurt. Yeah,
when has any Bosa completed a season? So I'm saying that you got to have ifs or whatever. But what's the old holiday?
If the bunch was proved to every day be quick.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of ifs on that San Diego too. But I'm just saying, I'm putting that. I agree with you on the San Diego thing. I mean, I think San Diego's a great job. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great job. But
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Say San Diego, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Somebody said they should go back
They
to
should
San
be in
Diego.
San Diego.
They
but
probably should.
My
I
friend, I got a friend in San Diego. They voted the team out, so I was stunned. You vote for the team like we don't need football here, man. We got plenty of money. This is a couple years. We don't need football here. Football's a waste of money. This guy's not
waste
football
of money,
fan.
right?
Yeah, waste of money. And I was like, really? Like we don't need to be giving public subsidies to the Spanos family. Go to LA.
The LA Chargers. Y'all
you been saying they don't need. I mean,
yep.
Prepaid. I mean, San Diego's just gorgeous, man. They don't need.
They should have come. They should have come up with. All right, we got the wild card coming out here, and excuse me. Where do you see potential upsets here in the wild card round? Who do you see as an underdog or as a one who could surprise folks in this wild card round? All right, I'll start with you, Darnell.
Washington football team.
Hey, this is gonna make me look bad. But I'm gonna say the Washington. I have a funny feeling about it, but yeah, they just playing with a fire, and I'm not gonna do it.
So you're not gonna do it?
I'm not gonna do it, man. Shoot, I'm pulling it up. So you can come back to me.
All right, we'll go to Ham. Who do you think where the upset's coming from?
Washington football team. I think they're right, but I don't think. Again, you got Mike Evans and Mess trying to get 1,000 yards. We trying to get Lombardis, get 1,000 yards. We're trying to get Lombardis, man. So I mean, that's ridiculous. You're gonna hurt your best receiver to get 1,000 yards. When you try to go for Lombardis, you got a 42, 43-year-old quarterback. So I think they're going to upset them. I think that Gibson, McKissick, they're going to control the ball. They got McLaurin. They're a very underrated team, and they're at the right time. And I think he's not going to hurt you. He's not going to help you. He's not going to hurt you. And so if you have Gibson and that great defense with Chase Young, Montez Sweat, but I mean, they're just amazing defense. I think they're going to really get it in with Tom Brady. And, they're obviously their third level is not great. The backs aren't great, but I think if you can make up for those inadequate defensive backs. And so I think that's the really upset I see on Wild Card weekend.
All right.
Brown for Stefanski being out, but
yeah, that's
Stefanski
exactly what I was going to do. I was going to say the Browns, but yeah, they don't have a coach.
Stefanski being out, that's not.
I'm going to end up sticking with my pick. It's Washington for pretty much the same reason. Pass rush. They move Brady off his spot, but knowing Tom Brady, if we done our homework, the ball's going to come out fast, and for the most part, it really. Because if the ball is going to be coming out that quick, like you're going to see Chase Young have like 3 or 4 almost sacks, but the ball's out on the flat or on a quick slant or something like that. And I think I don't know if Washington's going to be able to keep up the scoring pace with Tampa Bay. I don't really see any upsets really happening in the playoffs as far as the wild card round goes, but. It's football, so anything can happen. I'm going. All
right. Hey, upset. So what do you think?
Yeah, and because anything can happen, I'm taking the Browns. Because this is the one thing that concerns me about football. Okay, unless you're hurt. You don't. Some years ago, you had the Indianapolis Colts. They was blowing everybody's door. Jim Caldwell decided to rest some of his players before the playoffs. They came out for that playoff game, had the best football. They came out flat and they lost. This is the same thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers did. Okay, and Cleveland had to play, huh?
Didn't the Ravens do that last year too?
Yeah. See, the thing is about that, there's something about keeping your rhythm going into the playoffs. So because of that, this, Darnell, and because of that, if there's going to be what I think is going to be an upset, and then you got a natural rivalry there with Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So that's why if there's going to be one, I pick it because there's a possibility of flat that you cannot come flat in the playoffs. You know, it's not for long, as we always say in the NFL. So for that reason, I'm just going to go against you guys, and to be a little bit unique, I'm going to take Cleveland for the upset.
All right, I'm gonna go in a little different direction. I say the Bears over the Saints. I mean, the Saints beat the Bears on the overtime over there, and as much as Hammer wants Nagy out, it's the kind of victory that's gonna keep him in, and they're just gonna keep him on the run for a long time.
So that's not even unless he gets.
I know, but it's gonna push him one more year than you think he should be there. And
pace is gonna get canceled. That's the word. Pace is gonna get canceled.
I will say that it's one of those under the radar kind of things. People forgot about that. They went into overtime. They played tough against each other.
Kamara is not going to be 100%, so that's the only thing. Also, no, he can play. He could play. The fact that because they didn't put the game on. So they put the game on Saturday. He couldn't have played, but he can play on Sunday. But he's still not going to be % and not going to be the six touchdown Alvin he was. So yeah, I just don't see him.
And it's my pick. So, and I'm saying that I see.
I hope you're right. I mean,
I don't see Breeze. I don't still see Breeze 100%. I think Breeze is. I mean, he got knocked out.
Michael Thomas coming back though, right? Michael Thomas coming back.
Yeah, but I got a little more faith in the Bears defense. I mean, for that kind of stuff, I think they.
I do, but Jalen.
I think they found.
Let
me say what I'm saying. I think they found something offensively. I love New Orleans defense. But I think the Bears found something in recent weeks offensively that they're trying to work on. And I just think it's that kind of game. You know, it's going to be ugly. And, you know, if you're going to pick upset, I think that's an interesting upset that's a little bit off the radar. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens.
If they can make it ugly, I'll go with you. But I don't know if they can make it ugly or not.
Yeah, I don't like – I mean, if you saw the Packer game last week, the way they used Allen Robinson was criminal. They made Jerry – Alexander's a great cornerback, but he's not. They just didn't even look towards A-Rob, and again they didn't run the ball as well. I mean, Nagy got this. I listened to a lot of Chicago radio, and Nagy took over the play, and we lost. Surprise, surprise.
So let's crazy.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right.
A lot could happen between last week and this week. It's one of those things.
My Cubs gave away Hugh Darvish, and they're about to give away people. So I mean, they're going a full fire sale. So we're a raggedy baseball team. So the White Sox. So
we'll all be watching these wild card games to see what happens. We'll come back to see whether or not we were right or whether or not there were some other surprises that we didn't anticipate. So we look forward to kind of coming together with that. That was the Cypher. It's about time to drop that mic and bring Hank in to take us home. Hank, it's time to drop the mic with Hank.
All right, thanks a lot. First and foremost, everybody, Happy New Year. We made it. It's 2021. We are here. It is time for the hope to begin. 2020, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But let me just say this, we're going to have the college football game coming, the Alabama Crimson Tide Invitational. Since they've had the college football playoff, Alabama has made it every year. And the thing is about that, it's really easy to say to a young man in his living room, every year, regardless of what happens, we're going to be there. And what happens, lo and behold, they got the #1 recruiting class every year. I bring this up. It may not be a jaw-dropping drop to mic, but it just gives you something to think about a little bit. That all the sports that had to deal with this pandemic, we talked about it a little bit last year. All the sports that had to deal with this pandemic, all of them came up with something very unique to make sure that they got through what needed to get through. Whether it was the NHL, the NBA bubble, the expanded playoffs for baseball, and even expanded playoffs for we got wild for football. Everybody except college football, they did the same thing. The same teams, same Notre Dame. They took Oklahoma's place this year. You know, we would just think that why not just see what happens, especially since we had such a crazy season that you could have did it a little bit so that Texas A&M would have gotten their chance to get blown out by Alabama again, or if Florida felt like they needed a shot, or anybody else, or Indiana, with them protesting the Big Ten because only to lose, But I think that this was an opportunity, college football, just so that the Alabama Invitational looks a little bit more competitive, so that other teams can be seen by this nation outside of Red Ohio State and the Red Crimson Tide and the Red Oklahoma, who had a beef themselves. But just to give it a little bit more variety, what you think, huh? Expanded after this year, it was an opportunity just to see. Everybody else just saw, and we liked it. It was something to talk about, but we don't have nothing else to talk about except for, once again, the Alabama Crimson Tide invitation. So we will see you next year at the ACTI when it comes up again. Peace out.
Log Talk Radio.
This thing right here is for my peoples in the streets.
Yes, today.
Log